No. No, why would we do that? I mean, say this was not an important game or he doesn't need to play or – I mean, I think we need to do a better job of the people playing around him, doing what they're supposed to do so he doesn't get hit. And he needs to do a better job of stepping up in the pocket and getting rid of the ball, which he had several opportunities to do. So, some of these hits can be avoided just by better execution. And I think that's what we're going to focus on, not trying to take a guy out of the game so he can't improve or do what he needs to do to get better, or we need to do what we need to do to get better as a team and develop some confidence in each other.
That was Coach Nick Saban talking about limiting Tua snaps. He called out he really challenged his team and his quarterback. When you listen to that, James, he challenged his team and his quarterback. Execute better and you won't get hit. Don't get mad at the Mississippi State players after the game for hitting your quarterback. Protect your quarterback. That's what I hear him say. Let's see what DC has to say. DC, how you doing this morning?
Doing well, Martin. How are you today?
All right. It's now time for the DC Capstone Report. And DC Capstone Report brought to you by RollTideBama.com as well as the freelancepictures.com. All right, DC, we got a caller. We're going to go ahead and get to him right after I get you to address this particular Nick Saban addressing the media in regards to limiting Tua's snaps or not. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that question's asked every year about this time, where that time in the schedule, where this game we play, whether it's going to be Georgia Southern or the Citadel, you'll get the same response from Coach Saban. I don't think he wants to hear that, because that's, to be honest, I had a listener last night message me about what I thought about this, and what I told him was it's not in Coach Saban's DNA to talk about not playing your best player or not playing your best game. Alabama and Coach Saban's always preached and always taught that we don't play the opponent, we play to a standard. And if you start talking about resting your players and that be your statement you're going to give to the team, then that's not the standard you're playing to. So, do I realistically think we can get beat in this game? No. I said in my podcast yesterday, I don't think we can get beat, but I do think we can get better. And I think that's Coach Saban's mentality, and I think it just came across in what he tried to convey to the media yesterday. I think he's talking to his teammates, to the team and his coaches more than he is the media.
Yep.
He's trying to get that message across to them, hey, we're going to play to our standard. We aren't resting anybody. Y'all do your job better, and we don't have to worry about the quarterback getting hurt.
That's right. You don't have to be fighting after the game if you protect your quarterback. So that's kind of his message, I think. And then, of course, he was encouraging Tua to step up and release the ball a little bit sooner, or just step up and then get rid of the ball. We got Super Joe who has a question for you regarding Tua's knee. Super Joe, you're in with DC. What's your question?
Hey, DC, how you Sunday, partner?
Doing great, Super Joe. How are you today?
Oh, no complaint, man. Nice meeting you, but I'll kind of say this, though, about what Tua's knee. I know what Ryan Fowler was talking about, a good place for him to go somewhere like Grandview, where I said, well, I could say this was, now he said the one thing that Tua is fine. Now he just got beat up a little bit, where he get belittled there. He got beat up a good bit. I don't think little. That's a little understatement to me. But then again, at the same time, it was kind of about time our offense got tested a little bit, because you got to look at the Mississippi State. That was the best defense we probably done played. But they allowed 24 with nothing. We still shut them out. But the whole fact of the matter, they defense kept playing. And plus, I'm saying like this, we're going to be tested at some point, but they'll let you know not to get complacent and no time to see Saban. Coach Saban now is going to let his guard down. I look at the perspective, he said, we're not going to take the Citadel lightly. That's not in our players' head. But the way I look at it like this, though, he said, now Jalen's day-to-day right now, day-to-day. So when do you think we'll probably see Jalen Hurts come back?
Well, in my opinion, I don't think, based on what I've seen at the games and watching Jalen Hurts walk and try to go through the motions beforehand, I just don't think he's ready to play right now. I think at best you may see Jalen in the Auburn game, but most likely the opportunity for Jalen to really play and compete and give us an advantage will be in the Georgia game, I believe. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I could say something like that right now. He didn't, because you got to look at. I know about ankle surgery. So I had a broke ankle, but I slipped over a metal pipe in 2006. I know about the ankle, so and trust me, I don't. I don't think Jalen's going to come back now until maybe the Georgia game or maybe sometime the playoffs if we get there, which I don't doubt that we get there. But I'm gonna say about with Tua though. I'm sure he's got an ice pack on his knee. I'm sure he's taking some stuff for the back of his knee. So that's why I'm not gonna too much worry about him. It's not like he's got a torn ACL, but I'm sure, but it's a little nagging. But it is a concern. But at the same time, Coach Saban keeps saying he's fine. That's the bright side of it. But at the same time, I sit there and look at the way he be limping off that field, and I think is he trying to protect his Heisman hopes or something? I don't know what it is.
All right, thanks, Super Joe. DC, if you would respond to Super Joe, do you think that this has anything to do with Heisman hopeful, or is it the competitor in Tua?
No, I don't think they're thinking about Heisman at this point. I think most every reporter out there says Tua's got the Heisman wrapped up at this point. I think it's wrapped up early in the season. So as long as he continues to perform at the level, I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it has to do with two things. One is the perspective from which we're looking at it. We see Tua limping off with a hurt knee. And I have a little different perspective on that. If you look at Tua and listen to what he said, I love to sit back and listen to the kids themselves. Every time he's ever been asked about his knee, he said, "My knee is fine." And then he starts talking about the knee brace that they have him in. If you look at that knee brace, it's a very bulky brace that it goes way above his knee and below his knee. Every time he runs and tries to slide, it's the knee brace that hurts him every time he slides. Every time he tries to move and step up, it's the knee brace that hurts him. So a lot of times, no doubt he gets hit and hurt, but there are players that get hurt, get dinged up every play that they come off the field and are better later in the game. I think every time we see him getting up and adjusting that knee brace and coming off the field the way he's walking, it's because of the actual bruises, the scrapes, and the cuts that he's getting from the knee brace every time he gets hit on it. And so I think that's one perspective. Second perspective is he is a competitor. He's a fighter, and there's no quit in him. So he's going to play through, and that's why Tua wants to play. Coach Saban wants him to play, but Tua wants to play. And guess what? Every one of his players on that field wants him to play. All those receivers want to play. Because when Tua plays, he makes the team a better team. And so I just believe that it's two things working. One, the knee brace and what we don't understand is happening to it. And two, his competitive drive.
Yeah, when you look at Tua, he's definitely showing that that competitive driving. I don't think that Heisman would be driving the behavior. I think the brace is part of it, but I think that knee has something going on with it. But it could be one of those things like I had a shoulder injury where I could play, but if you hit it just right, it was going to send some pain. I was going to go over to the sideline. I was going to close my eyes and squint for a little bit, DC. Then I was going to be okay by the time I had to go back out there. But I was not injured, but there was some pain around it, if that makes sense. So
it makes a lot of sense, and we've seen other players like A.J. McCarron had a shoulder injury that he played through, and it hurt. Every time he get hit on it, he would wince and hurt. And you had other players like Greg McElroy played through some injuries when he was here. Running backs have done the same, and just like you've described, it hurts for a little while, but you can come back out and play after a while.
Yeah, but I do like the fact that Nick Saban didn't make any excuses about it. He said that the team could get better, that the team could protect better. I think that there's two sides to this whole Mississippi State game. Yes, the negative of Tua getting hit, but there was some good that came out of it. And we're going to talk about that and more right here on the Blitz with DC and the Capstone Report. Don't forget you can find DC's entire podcast at dccapstonereport.com, dccapstonereport.com. Come back on the other side. We're going to continue our conversation with DC.
Well, I think everybody's kind of banged up right now. We've had two very physical games in a row. I think the key to the drill is don't focus on how you feel, but choose to do the things you need to do to improve and get better and get well prepared for the game and play well in the next challenge. So, but we're not going to take the approach in any game that we play that we're not going to play players and take guys out and do all this and play somebody else and assume that the opponent that we're playing is not capable of being very competitive. That can be your mindset. That's not my mindset. That's not our mindset. That's not going to be the mindset of our players. So, and I'm not really interested in any of your suggestions about how we should manage our team and what we should do to try to get better, regardless of what you think.
He didn't say could beat us, though. He said we're not going to make the assumption that they can't be competitive. So, like I said, Nick Saban is a master wordsmith. DC, hey, you mentioned something earlier about the Heisman being locked up. I want us to have a conversation around that because I think there's one guy out there that the rest of the college world is pulling for the next 2 weeks to make this Heisman race interesting. And I'm going to talk to you about him in just a few moments. He has 2 big games coming up that if Tua, I think with the last 2 performances, Citadel won't get a lot of credit. And then if he does the same thing in Auburn, I think it leaves the door open, not because of Tua's lack of performance, but because of the media world and what they want if they get a chance to get somebody other than an Alabama player. But, DC, we got Doug who has a question. You brought up the knee brace. Doug wants to talk with you about that. Doug, you're in with DC. What's on your mind?
Hey, Martin, it's great to talk to you. Listen, finally somebody said something I've been saying to my family for 3 weeks. It's not the knee, it's the brace.
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think his knee is hurt.
I know his weak knee is hurting him, but I don't think that the knee is the biggest issue. He's not used to that brace. Every time he gets up, watch him. Every time he gets up, he's not grabbing at his knee. He's pulling on that brace.
Right. The
thing is irritating him, and he's not used to it.
But you remember what happened the 1 week he didn't wear it?
Oh, I know. He's got to wear it. I got it.
Yeah.
He's got to wear it. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't think the knee is throwing him off. Everybody keeps talking about this plant foot. That's not his plant foot. He's left-handed. It's the knee is throwing him off because he's having to readjust his footwork because of the brace. That's what's throwing him off.
Well, the brace, and I'll let DC come in. Doug, when you drive the ball, you push from your back foot, which is his left. And then,
on
that right, and that's what I'm saying. When that, and it would be both the knee and the brace. The brace would impact that.
I agree.
DC, let me see. DC brought it up. Let's see what he has to say, and then I'll let you come back. Go ahead, DC.
Yeah, I think Doug's right in that the knee brace is affecting the way he plays. It's irritating him when he gets hit. I don't think he likes it. I don't think he likes wearing it. You hear a young guy speak like that several times. He mentions it. That's what's on his mind is that knee brace. And I just really believe that it does affect his play because it is his foot that he uses. When he's making the long throws, he does launch off his back foot. It's not the one his plant foot coming down on, but it does affect his throws. I think that's why
it affects his follow through.
That's why I say those balls are high.
A little bit.
Yeah,
exactly. Cool follow through. Yeah, follow through.
All right, Doug, you were about to say something else.
As far as the Heisman thing, guys, look, Tua ain't worried about Heisman. Saban ain't worried about the Heisman. Tua's worried. He's a warrior. He's worried about getting better. He's worried about being the very best player he can be. Saban's worried about him being the very best player he can be. If he does that, the Heisman will take care of itself. It'll handle itself. Kyler Murray is a great football player. He's awesome, and I love watching him. But the competition he's going against, you can say what you want to say. It ain't the same. It's not.
Hey, listen.
And all these folks talking about the week schedule. Look, go back and check the SEC against non-conference competition. We've got 5 losses on the season. The next closest conference to having that kind of a record against non-conference competition is the Pac-12 of all people with 9 losses to non-conference.
Hey, Doug,
the Big Ten's got 15.
Doug, let me ask you this question though. Remember Tim Tebow's dominant performance coming off of winning the Heisman?
Yes, I do. I remember that.
Who won it that next year?
Alabama.
No. I'm saying he won. I'm talking about who won the Heisman though. Was it not Sam Bradford?
It was Sam Bradford.
From where?
From Oklahoma. From
the Big 12 with the same poor defense. And the defenses back then in SEC that Tebow went against, to me, as a whole, were more dominant than the defenses today. And that's what I mean. It's a media thing. DC, what are your thoughts on that? It's a media thing, not not a performance thing if they can find someone else.
Well, I think you're definitely right, Martin. There's a media thing. It's a bias thing against Alabama.
Right.
It's Alabama fatigue. It's all that wrapped up into one. But to be honest, the talent level that Tua displays is across the board. There's not many people argue about it. I mean, there's some outliers out there that want to say he's not any good, but discount those type of people. They don't know anything about football.
Right.
Like so, but most everybody that knows about football, even the West Coast writers that look for any way to put somebody ahead of an Alabama player, know the talent when they see Tua play. And it's not just his game performance, but it's individual things he does within games that let you know, hey, this is not your normal quarterback at Alabama. This is a special guy. And so I think he'll be rewarded by some of those players just because of the plays he's already made. And I'm not saying he can't. As long as he plays well against Citadel and Auburn and Georgia, I think the Heisman will take care of itself at the College Station.
And to me, that's the part that I agree with. I think it's important. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not because I don't think he's clearly the best player. It's I've just been listening. I started trying to listen to what people are saying. And there's a guy out there, Will Greer, with West Virginia, that has Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and then somebody else in a Big 12 championship game if they went out. And if he was a darling before Tua stepped in, and now that Tua has been injured, you don't see that elite play that Tua has compared to what we saw earlier. And that's why I say the door is open. Listen, Tua deserves the Heisman if he does exactly what he's done the last couple of weeks, in my opinion. But I don't get a vote.
Right.
All right.
Hey, guys, listen, I appreciate all of y'all do. And one thing I'm going to say before I get off, look, one of the things that the Heisman is supposed to do, they hadn't done it lately.
Yes,
I know Sam Bradfords of the world and the Johnny Manziels of the world. It's supposed to be about character. If there's a better kid in the country who's a better athlete, who has more character, who's a better person, that leads his team than Tua, I don't know who it is.
Yeah. I agree with you. That's good stuff. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, man.
All right. DC, been a different kind of day today, but let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Alabama game, and then we'll come back and finish up with that. What did you see coming out of this 24-0 shutout win by the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Well, I saw the offense of what I would consider to be a dominating performance on the first two drives. I just think coming out wanting to run the ball and say, hey, we're going to line up against you. You got some great defensive linemen to stop us. And they couldn't. They couldn't stop. I think Deontay Brown going out affected that. But that's what they practiced all week, and they stuck with it. And I believe that, and that's kind of what I say your offensive kind of production went down after that. But, coming out of this game, Josh Jacobs jumped out, played probably the best offensive player we had in the game. I thought he did a fantastic job. Offensively, I think we did well. But defensively, every podcast, Martin, I try to put up 2 or 3 outstanding standout players, I call them, of the game. But I couldn't pick one this week. I picked every defensive player that played that game. I named them on my podcast, every one of them, because they deserved it, every player. And I just want to highlight our defense, because our defense, people have talked about our offense so much that sometimes you think our defense is not any good, and that is just not true. Our defense is as good as any defensive team we've had in the past. And you don't have to look any farther than the stats. Our offense has been so good that sometimes our defense didn't even play in the full starting 11 and playing in the second half. So if you look at our first half stats, I think we've given up 58 points. 58 points in the first half.
In 10 games.
Yeah, in every game. In games, it's been competitive. I think there's 3 games been competitive. We scored less than 40 points, and that would be Missouri, LSU, and Mississippi State. We've given up 10 points in those 3 games, and nothing in the second half of those games when the starters are playing. But there's one particular play I want to point to. I highlighted my podcast about our defense. To tell you the mindset. Why our defense? Why I say it's better than ever. It's because of the mentality we have now on defense, and that is because we have a great offense. And that is this. If you look at the second, the 21 seconds to go in the game, Mississippi State has the ball, driving to score a touchdown. Right before in the half, 21 seconds to go in the half. You say a third down play. Alabama calls, I don't know if it's Tosh Lapoy, whoever defense calls, a jailbreak blitz. And by that I mean everybody's coming. We got one safety back. Everybody's coming. Now, you know what happens when you call a jailbreak blitz. Either you get to the quarterback, you affect his throw, or he throws a touchdown pass on you. But to me, the mentality for Alabama to say, okay, we're going to call this play, and we're going to stop you, we're going to sack you, you're not going to get a touchdown right here. Or, hey, even if you do get a touchdown, you still can't outscore us because the offense is that good.
Right.
Alabama hadn't had that luxury in the past. If Jeremy Pruitt would have been able to call all those jailbreak blitzes last season, you'd have seen Alabama's sack total higher. Our sack total is higher this time because we can actually go after it and try to get to the quarterback and make a difference on the defensive side of the ball and not worry about our offense not being able to outscore the opposition. That's what makes this defense the most dangerous defense, I think, that Nick Saban's ever put on the field.
We're talking with DC in the Capstone Report. He joins us every Tuesday. He's going to hang around for the fourth quarter with us. DC in the Capstone Report, presented weekly by freelancepictures.com and rolltidebama.com. Coming back on the other side, we're going to ask DC about Tosh Lapoy. What's the grade on Tosh Lapoy 10 games in? Because I know that there were people giving him a failing grade earlier in the season. Where is he at now? And how good can this defense be? That conversation and more right here on the Blitz. DC, we were going to break. You were talking about this defense and the play calling on Saturday. Of course, Robert Saucier pointing out we're running the ball really well the last couple of weeks. And is that giving the defense even more rest and allowing them to be more dominant? But what's your grade on Tosh Lapoy as a first-year defensive coordinator?
I think Tosh Lapoy has done a great job. I mean, I don't understand the criticism. I think he's done a really great job developing a team, a defensive team that every one of us coming into the season said was going to be thin. With all the talent that went to the NFL, they're not only just the NFL but playing every Sunday right now.
Right.
That level of talent that leaves, how are you going to replace them? Well, I think he's done a great job of doing that, and I think he's brought his mentality of aggressive play to the table now that he's able to do that. But also, I think Coach Tagovailoa has helped tremendously. Anytime you surround yourself with great coaches, and Tosh Lapoy, Coach Saban has done that with Tosh Lapoy and Craig Tagovailoa. And Tagovailoa's been able to take some of those players, and you see LeBron Rafe and Darian Mathis getting in early in the game to spell and give some rest now. That didn't happen early in the season. They were coming in the second half. Now they're coming in to give him some rest. He's developing young players behind the scenes that we never see to come in and make a difference, which is also giving some rest to the defense, and they're playing more rested on the line. But those linemen getting to the quarterback the way they're doing frees up the rest of the defense to play their best. Like I've always said, if you got big linemen in front of you who are making plugging the holes and affecting the quarterback, then your back end defense can do a good job. I think that's what's happening in Alabama.
What about Carl Scott? We don't talk much about him. The wide receivers have gotten coaches. Gaddis have gotten a lot of love. Kuligowski's gotten a lot of love. But Scott, to me, had the hardest job of any coach I think I've seen on Nick Saban's staff. He was replacing all, not most of, all of his position, having guys. Well, I think one guy having a couple of starts, and that's pretty much it. What about the job he's done?
Well, you're exactly right, Martin. We overlook Carl Scott. He not only has the toughest job because he's replacing all of his players, but he also has the toughest job in the Alabama staff because Coach Saban is looking over his shoulder. Coach Saban loves the coach.
That's
but,
right.
I mean, Carl Scott's done a fantastic job there with what he had to work with in developing the young talent, and especially the corners. The corners, Savion Smith and Patrick Surtain, but you forget he loses Trayvon Diggs, who did such a great job of shut down corner, and then he still gets these guys coming in behind him that are doing well and make development. So yes, I think Carl Scott doesn't get enough attention. He's done a great job as well.
Well, see, this is what Kevin Smith put. Let's get real. Saban is a DB coach. Let me tell you something. I disagree with everybody that says that, because when Saban was still here and Jeremy Pruitt left, our DBs were average at best. And so, yes, Saban is the one with the philosophy. Yes, Saban is there, but he has to have that Jeremy Pruitt type of personality, because when we went through that time when Jeremy wasn't here until I forget the coordinator that's over at Georgia now came in and helped Saban coach the DBs. Our DBs were average. Now, Saban drives it a lot, but Carl Scott deserves a lot of credit on being able to take Saban's philosophy and teach it. Saban knows what he wants, but Saban is not physically able to teach it the way he used to.
Right. I think that you're talking about Mel Tucker.
Mel Tucker, yes. He kind of came in, yes.
Job. I think that's when you saw our defensive back start to play good again.
Yep.
And the reason when I say good, every Alabama fan out there screamed at their TV twice or so, get your head around, because they would never turn their head around and look for the ball. That's something that a hands-on defensive back coach has to teach.
Yes.
It's not philosophy, it's technique. And I think the day-to-day technique, I mean, Saban has the philosophy of how we're going to play, but it's the day-to-day technique that Carl Scotts of the world tell the players. That's why Josh Gaddis has done so well with the wide receivers. The offensive coordinator like Mike Locksley knows how to work them into the playing, but it's the technique. Josh Gaddis has brought a technique to the wide receivers that's never been at Alabama before, with the hand placement and foot movement. And that's why they're doing so well. So it's technique, and that's the individual coach that does that.
Yeah, and one more question for you, at least one more, maybe two, based on time. DC is flip to the other side of the ball. Deontay Brown, I have not heard the status on whether he'll be back Saturday or not. First two drives, it looked like Alabama came out with the decision we were going to run the ball and work on play action passing. Absolutely executed, went downhill from there. Just talk about that young man's impact on this offense from what you see.
Well, you know how high I am on Deontay Brown. Early on, I mentioned him in the before the season started, Martin, somebody could come in and fight for playing time. He's done just that. I think he's done a great job. I think he affects the game when he's in there, and you miss him when he's out. And that's the mark of a great player who's a team player and does a good job. I think if you look at the first couple of drives, he dominated the man in front of him, whether it was Jeffrey Simmons or somebody else on the line. He pushed them all the way down the line and opened up gaping holes for the running backs to run through. Now, I don't know about his injury. Turf toe is a tough injury to overcome for anybody, especially a lineman who has to use his feet and footwork so much and has a chance to get stepped on so many times.
I need to go over there and give him. I had I had turf toe. I actually had a, the plastic cast that they can mold around you, the PVC. I actually had one of those form fitted for my foot and played with it. So, but I didn't weigh 300 pounds and some change.
Right. And I'm sure the technology's gone a lot better. So believe you me, I'm sure that the trainers have been over to the Alabama engineering department trying to come up with some kind of device to get Deontay Brown back on the field. So, and if he can, I think he affects the play. And look, I'm not taking anything away against Lester Cotton. I think Deontay Brown has come in with the attitude of competitive character and competitiveness that has been that we haven't seen in a while in an offensive lineman. What I can do, and you don't have to watch his film and watch him blocking 20 yards downfield on a long run to show the effort that he's given. So he brings that effort on every play, and I think that's making the difference in the offensive line. Absolutely.
One last question for you, just closing thoughts on Josh Jacobs.
I can't say anything about Josh Jacobs but great things. I love Damian Harris. I think Damian Harris is my favorite back ever at Alabama. But I wish that they had left Josh Jacobs down there on the field for that fourth down play, because I believe he wills his way into the end zone. Just because Josh Jacobs finishes, I know you respect him because he finishes a run like a tackler. He wants to punish the opposing player. He wants to lower the shoulder, and that's where you ran, Martin, when you were playing. That's where all good running backs want to get that extra. And he gets an extra half yard, extra 2 yards, sometimes turns it into 5 yards, the way he closes on that last tackler when he's coming in. So the effort that Josh Jacobs gives, it's just unheard of in today's college football area as far as a running back. And I'm just excited to see him play. Love to see him play.
All right. That's DC Capstone Report. You can find it at dccapstonereport.com. Sponsored by freelancepictures.com and rolltopbama.com. You can find DC at David Cott 50. David Cott 50 is where you can find him. DC, thanks for being a part of the show. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks, Martin. Have a good week and roll tide.